Yo, what's going on, guys? Sport Fanatic, and I am back with another video. This time I'm going to be doing a schedule preview of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So Notre Dame's in a very interesting spot. They have a pretty difficult schedule with a couple of tough road games such as Georgia and Michigan. And the tough thing for Notre Dame is they're not a Power 5 team, so they probably are going to have to be undefeated to even be in the conversation for the playoffs. Everything would have to go their way for them to be in it just at 11-1. And even if they are 12-0, they're not going to be a number 1 or number 2 team. They're going to sneak in at 3 or 4. So it's a very difficult spot for Notre Dame because they're playing an ACC schedule, but they're not treated like an ACC team. A one-loss team in the ACC, as long as they're the ACC champions, probably get in. Notre Dame, it's not the same. So Notre Dame's in a very difficult spot. I think they should just go ahead, bump a team like Louisville out of the ACC and just put in Notre Dame there. That'll really help out the competition over there in the ACC because it's a dumpster fire right now. But Notre Dame are going to probably have to be 12-0, at worst 11-1 to even have a shot to be in contention for the playoffs. Can they do it? Let's find out. So kicking off the year for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, they are on the road against Louisville. Louisville's kind of the team that I said earlier that I kind of want bumped out of the ACC. They are not a Power 5 caliber football team. They should go independent, and Notre Dame should just slide into the ACC. It's better for everybody. Louisville can't compete. Notre Dame doesn't have to be as good. It just works for everybody. But I do think Louisville will be fired up for this game. They're at home. It's going to be an 8 o'clock game, first game of the year. It might be a close first quarter, second half game. But I do think that Notre Dame is going to be able to distance themselves and get the W pretty convincingly against Louisville here in Week 1. So moving on, at home against New Mexico, I do believe. So they're coming off of a bye at this point. I don't get why they're having a bye against New Mexico. They're probably not going to bring their A game. They're going to be focused on Georgia, and rightfully so. I think this is going to be an ugly game, low-scoring game for the first half. Notre Dame distances themselves in the second half. They're going to win something like 31-0 or something like that, building momentum going into Athens 2-0. So at this point, this is probably going to be two undefeated top 10 teams. It's one of the biggest games of the year, definitely one of the biggest non-conference games of the year for both these teams. So it is Notre Dame on the road in Athens against UGA. Last time Georgia was on the road against Notre Dame, and they won 2019. At that point, I think Georgia isn't as good as they are now, and Notre Dame isn't as good as they are now. But I feel like Georgia has made more progress since then than Notre Dame has. And you take in the factor that Georgia is now at home. Georgia is an incredibly hard team to beat early on in the year at home. I don't think Georgia is going to slip up. I think it's going to be a 2-possession win for Georgia, kind of low scoring. It's going to be something like 27-17, 27-20, something like that. Somewhere between 14 and 7 points. I think Georgia handles Notre Dame in a tough physical football game. So Notre Dame heads back home against Virginia. I think a very plausible loss, depending on how they rebound in that tough loss against Georgia, is going to kind of determine this. I think they're definitely the better team than Virginia, and if they bring their B+ or A- game, they should be able to handle them pretty well. I think that's what they are going to do. Again, they might get off to a slow start. I think they're going to be kind of a slow start team, Against Louisville, I think will be a slow start. New Mexico will be a slow start. Georgia will be a slow start. Virginia will be a slow start. And they're just kind of a team that's going to use their physicality to just distance themselves. In the second half, they're going to rely on their defense, good decisions from Ian Book, and a power running game that will just run it right down your throat. And I think they're going to be able to kind of distance themselves and win by about 2 or 3 possessions against Virginia, heading 3-1 on the year. So they stay at home in another 3:30 game against another ACC team, this time against Bowling Green. What am I saying? Bowling Green isn't an ACC team. I think Notre Dame, this is going to be their biggest win in terms of points and points differential. They're going to blow out Bowling Green. It's going to be ugly. I think Ian Book is going to go off in this game. It's not going to be a slow start for them. They're going to come out firing, guns blazing. They have USC the game after this, so they're going to want to build momentum into that big matchup, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do. I'm going to give Notre Dame the W. So again, the third straight week they are at home. They face the USC Trojans. I think by this point, the USC team is going to be kind of in shambles. Their coach may be fired. I'm not sure what's in the future for their coach. He's going to be fighting for everything he has to just try to stay alive and keep his job intact, and USC is going to be fighting just to keep their bowl wins intact. I think USC is going to be a dumpster fire by this point, and I think Notre Dame is actually going to blow out USC. I think this is going to be the final straw. USC is going to finally fire their coach and then move on to maybe like an Urban Meyer or somebody like that. But this is about Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's going to blow out USC in their best win of the season. So in my opinion, their second biggest, or toughest game, I should say, of the entire year is on the road against Michigan. Again, they have extremely tough road games. I mean, this is ridiculous. Stanford, Michigan, Georgia. If they want to make the playoffs, they're at least going to have to win 2 out of those 3 games. That's an insanely hard schedule. But back to Michigan. Michigan's going to be coming off a loss against Penn State, so this is kind of a 50-50 matchup. It's at Michigan. That's a big advantage for them. Depending on how Michigan responds will kind of result in this. I think Michigan's the better team than Notre Dame. That's just me. But Jim Harbaugh isn't a great motivator. He's shown whenever his team is down in the dumps, he can't really motivate them out of it. Whenever they're not have the momentum on their sides, they're not a top 10 team. And Notre Dame, I think, is going to come in this game off a big win against USC, riding high, while Michigan's going to be riding low. Notre Dame's going to win an ugly, physical, low-scoring football game. It's your classic Notre Dame-Michigan football game. Notre Dame gets the W. So as they head back home to face Virginia Tech, a very losable game because they're kind of sandwiched between 2 rough road games against Duke and Michigan. Will they bring their A game? I don't think so. They're going to bring their B-plus game. It will be just enough to beat Virginia Tech. I think they're going to win this game by 1 or 2 possessions. It's going to be another kind of ugly, low-scoring game. It's going to be kind of a 20-13, 24-17 ugly ball game. Virginia Tech will probably have the lead most of the game, and Notre Dame just making enough big plays to escape out with the win. But nevertheless, I do think that they are going to find a way to escape this football game with a W. So they are on the road this time against Duke. Duke, I think, is one of the most overrated teams heading into 2019. They don't have Daniel Jones, which means they don't have a very good team. Daniel Jones took this team on his back, and they were still just an average team last year. I'm a big believer in their coach, but I think this is going to be kind of a rebuilding year for Duke. Notre Dame's going to come in here and win pretty convincingly. Ian Book's going to show off his skills, and Notre Dame's going to get another convincing win on the road as they continue to build momentum heading into this very important last stretch of the season where they need to win out. So they're at home against Navy. What more do I need to say? Navy's a fine little school. I mean, they haven't been good in a couple years. They really haven't been good ever. They haven't been average in a couple years, probably what I should say. Army's beaten them over the last couple years. Navy's just not in a good spot right now. Notre Dame's going to win. It's a good kind of, a lot of the veterans and the old folk, I sound even older than they do, are going to be watching this game. This game's going to have a lot of tradition. It's going to be a fun game for, your 70 and 80-year-old crowd, but in the end, Notre Dame is going to just, it might be a close game for the first half. It's going to be an emotional football game, but Notre Dame's just going to run away with it in the second half. So they're at home against Boston College, coming off of an emotional win against Navy. This is another sandwich game. They were able to handle it decently against Virginia Tech. They weren't great, but they were able to get the win. Boston College, I think they're going to be a much better game, and even though they got the win against Virginia Tech in that sandwich game, they're going to learn their lesson. They don't want to take a chance of losing against a team like Boston College, especially because Notre Dame is probably going to be a top 10 team by this point, maybe even top 7 or 8, and they're going to be fighting with everything they have for that playoff berth, and they're going to need all these small wins like this, and I think Brian Kelly knows that, and the Notre Dame team knows that, and they are way better than Boston College. Nobody's going to disagree with me on that. So Notre Dame gets the win, building momentum into the Stanford game. So these are two top 15 teams in my opinion. They're both probably 10-plus win teams. A big Pac-12 matchup for Notre Dame. They're on the road against Stanford. Now, if they win this game, they might be in the conversation for playoff. I don't think they'll make it. I mean, if they're not undefeated, they're realistically probably not going to make it, especially because the two times that the committee has gone for Notre Dame, last year they got crushed against Clemson. In 2012, they got crushed against Alabama, so it hasn't worked out for the polls whenever they put them in there, and if they're not undefeated and dominant, they're probably not going to get in there anyways. I do think Notre Dame's going to be fighting with everything that they have here, but I think Stanford is actually going to pull off the upset. If Notre Dame was at home, I'd be giving them the win, but they're on the road, and I think Stanford's going to find a way to get the win. That may be a game-winning field goal. It may go into overtime. I think this is a 50-50 ball game. It's going to be an extremely close football game. But in the end, I think Stanford's just a little bit better. Just because they're at home. Again, I think whichever team gets the ball last, this is about as unpredictable as a game as you can get. Again, the Notre Dame with their rough 3 road games this year against Stanford, Michigan, and Georgia, I don't see them having a winning record in those 3 games. Most teams in the country won't be able to win 2 out of those 3 games, and unfortunately for Notre Dame fans, that includes you. So just because I have Notre Dame with 2 more losses than they did last year, going 10-2, does not mean that I think they're not just as good as they were last year, if not better. I think Ian Book's going to progress a little bit. I think he's going to really improve as a quarterback. Brian Kelly's always a great coach, so you're always going to be competitive in that department. So I think they're going to be a top 15, top 10 team by the end of the year. Probably get into a New Year's Six bowl, maybe go to a Orange Bowl or something like that would probably be my guess. Maybe you win it, maybe you don't. Notre Dame fans, would you guys call this a successful year? Top 15, top 10 team, making a New Year's Six bowl. It's no playoff, but then again, it's a tough situation for you guys because I want to back you guys up and I want to support you guys because you guys have an ACC schedule, but you're taking like you're a BCS team, so you have to go on. You basically play an ACC schedule with UCF, like your UCF, basically. So picture UCF with an ACC schedule. That's basically what you guys are. You guys play a schedule where you guys should be taken like you are an ACC team, but you're taken like you're an FCS team, and you guys have to go 12-0 and have to be dominant. Do I think that's fair? No, but then again, it's hard to back you guys up on this because you guys haven't performed whenever it really counts in the big games like Alabama and Clemson. That's just my take on it. Notre Dame fans, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and just any college football fans, make sure you guys check out all my other content. Hit that notification bell. Keep an eye out for upcoming content on this way. Notre Dame fans, make sure you guys comment down below. If you guys disagree with me, I'll be happy to carry on conversations with you as long as you guys aren't overly obnoxious. But please, if you guys do disagree, make sure to let me know down in the comments below. Or if you guys agree, make sure to let me know down in the comments below. I would love to start carrying on more conversations with you guys. It surely brings me a lot of joy knowing that I can improve myself with more opinions in college football. Hey, the more opinions, the better, so I can make a more objective case on it. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.